Hey guys, welcome back to the show, the channel. It is, we're in our end of November, Paul. We're coming into the December Christmas period. The cat season is well over now, a month and a half, and we're nearly into 2025. So there's a fairly long time to go still until the AFL season starts again. But it was nice to see the players out there training the other day. But before we start today's show, how are you going, Paul? How are you enjoying your summer break?
All right. I guess, we're talking about this as our summer series, but it was only, I guess, as we record this, days ago since I was doing some streams for the draft and for the fixture and all those sort of things. So I guess I've greased the wheels a little bit in the last few days to kind of hit the ground running a little bit. And we'll continue to build out our content plan going into 2025. But this is a good start.
You've done a lot of good work in front of the camera. I've been mostly behind the camera over the last few weeks. I've also been growing a filthy mustache. For those that are watching, we might put this out as an audio as well. It's only about a week old, so I haven't been going since November 1. But let's move on from it. Let's get into our first topic tonight, Paul. We've got 3 topics to cover. We'd love to hear what you think in the chats as well. So please let us know if you strongly disagree with anything that Paul says. Clearly, you'll probably agree with everything I say, but yes, if you've got strong opinions.
That's usually how it goes. That's definitely usually how it goes.
But I'll start with you, Paul. The first question for you is fixturing. Well, that's the topic tonight. That is the big, broader topic. But the subtopic from that is, what do you think about Thursday night football? As we know, a lot more Thursday night footy this year. Where do you sit with it at the moment?
Look, I'm not crazy about the idea, but I've also seen some strategy in the approach. You notice the games that they're kind of putting on. They're either interstate games or Geelong's scored 1 or 2 that are at GMHBA on a Thursday night. Like, they're going for grounds where it's not the MCG. You don't need to try and fill it with 100,000 people. You've got a more modest 40K sort of total that you're trying to hit. And that is something that when you're going into state where they don't get multiple games around like you do in Victoria, or you go to Geelong where the ground is again smaller, it's a one-team town. All those circumstances, it makes it more feasible. I don't know. Like, the AFL seems to love it. They're really tooting their own horn when it comes to it. But they haven't pulled the wool over my eyes yet. Because I am looking at the games that they're playing, and they are very, very strategically done. When they can go and have a Collingwood game or some game at the MCG, and it attracts 90 plus, then I'll start taking it really seriously.
They're a long way from getting 90,000 on a Thursday night.
I think so too.
I like the TV product. I like footy being on TV on a Thursday night. I must admit, the first thing I look at when the fixture comes out is how many games do I have to go to that Geelong's playing on a Thursday night, because I really don't want to go, to be honest with you, Paul. I'd much prefer to watch it on the telly. And if we're playing at Cardinia Park at GMHBA, yes, I'll go. But if it's in Melbourne, or if it's, I think the first game we're playing this year is in Brisbane, there's no chance. That's probably the thing that stops me, and it definitely stops Mrs. Hoops as well. She's not interested at all on Thursday nights. I'm more than happy to stay home. I think it's probably not great for young kids. I know you've got a couple of young ones at home as well. Mine are all teenagers now. One, the youngest has just turned 13. It does make it hard if you've got school the next day. It's going to be all throughout the year pretty much. We don't know what the fixture looks like beyond, is it round 15 or round 16? Thereabouts anyway, about 2/3 of the way. So we'll see, but they are saying pretty much every game except 2, and we're probably, if history tells us anything, we'll get a Thursday night final in week 1 as well of the finals. So
yeah, I'll be more careful about the commitments that I make this time around. Bit me on the ass when it came to Geelong and Port earlier this year. So
I don't know I can't recall top of my head if we're playing many interstate games in the last part of the season, if there are any scheduled on a Thursday night.
Fair bit of Victorian action, I think, and a couple of GMHBA towards the end of the year. So, I mean, it's maybe, but
probably not too much.
I wouldn't bank on too many.
You know, the other thing, Paul, that's really annoying about Thursday night footy is I've got to do my post-game live show straight after the game, and I don't get to bed until about 1 in the morning, sometimes 1:30 in the morning. That's if I'm not editing the show straight afterwards or doing anything else, putting up little shorts or little clips of it for the next morning. So yeah, trying to go to work on a Friday morning after I've done that, it's not great as well.
It's a bit rough.
It is very rough. But let me ask you, we did briefly touch on just in that previous conversation about the fixture, the floating fixture. What do you think about that? I mean, you go to a couple of games every year, don't you? I mean, you don't go to every single game. It's, as I said, you've got the young family, and it makes it pretty tricky. But
that's my obstacle at the moment. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
But how hard is it? Would you prefer to know every single game that's on throughout the year, or do you not care? I mean, is it something that the media blows up a little bit? Where do you sit with this?
No, I'm with them. I don't think it's overly practical for families to be able to. I mean, you know your opponent, so you know whether you're playing Victoria, you know whether you're playing interstate. You know, if it's a Geelong home game, for us, it's relatively predictable that it's going to be at GMHBA, unless it ends up being against a Carlton, Collingwood. Maybe that's it at the moment. The other exception, I guess, is Hawthorn, but that's Easter Monday, so that's kind of well established at this point. So, I mean, at least it's relatively clear in that sense, but the lack of day of the week drives me mad.
Yeah.
The fact that I can't go and, block some time away for the Friday night, or if it is interstate, actually commit to the idea of, oh, look, I might, fly in, fly out, or, something simple to try and get that experience, because it's still something I've spoken about it a bit on Hoops content. I've still not been to an interstate game before. It's something I want to do, but when it's, stuff like this, you can't predict it. You don't know what's going to happen. That is a little bit annoying. And teams want to be able to plan. If I cast the net wider than just myself, there's plenty of people that want to plan their flights, plan their trips. So there's plenty of people where they'll book their weddings and make sure that they don't want it to align with the football and all those sorts of things. Like I'm sure the weddings are booked before the AFL fixture comes out, such as the nature of the beast these days. But people want to know when this thing is on and make plans around it.
For those that are watching that don't know when the footy season is on, it's usually between March and September. So if you are planning to get married whenever you want. But there's a lovely spring period just after the grand final.
My wife's a wedding photographer. If you need it, hit me up. We'll
yes, in the comments, leave the details
after the footy finals, though, because I don't need her absent for a wedding when I want to go to a football match.
That's right, and that is where you try to get to most of your games, isn't it? That
I do kind of. The Cats have been reliably a finals contender now since 2004, really, but since the kids have come along, and I need to kind of budget wisely and be, in terms of my time, and be mindful of how much time I spend away. And the finals are a good opportunity to earn some brownie points. Earn the brownie points through the year and then cash them in come finals time.
Yes. Wouldn't it be good to go to an interstate final though? Like I still feel a little bit jealous about all those Cats fans that went over to Adelaide Oval for the finals and watched the Cats just thump Port in that game. After
never tear us apart, only to tear them apart from the first quarter onwards.
Exactly. After Port gave it to us at home a month or two earlier in the season, that was great. Look, I'd prefer to know in advance, especially with the interstate trips. That's probably the one thing. The rest of the games, I don't care. If we're playing Western Bulldogs in Victoria and I don't know what day of the week it is, I don't care. I actually don't care. But if I'm playing Gold Coast, I might want to go, but I actually can't. Like, I can't plan that. I can't get the time off work. I can't. My kids live in two different houses with their mum half the time, so I got to make arrangements. All these different things I've got to think about, and that's just me. There's so many. There's probably hundreds of other situations.
Everyone's got their different circumstances, right?
Different circumstances, exactly right. So
the only one I'll give them is round 24. That's the only exception I'll make, because you are trying to plot it in such a way that teams are getting relatively equal lead into the finals.
I tell you what, I'll give them round 23 as well. I'm a reasonable guy. I think, give them a couple of rounds at the end of the year to maximise the TV audience. But can we at least make one of those games, one of those rounds that in the last third of the year, which is that floating fixture round, can we make that just interstate? No interstate travel for any team. So West Australian teams play each other. The Adelaide teams play each other. No one travels. And that way, okay, well, we don't have to plan for one of those weeks. We actually don't have to plan an interstate trip. That would be nice.
The biggest trip is anyone, either Geelong or their opponent, having to go up the freeway. That's it in that week.
We're going to go to the MCG please don't schedule us on a Friday night at the MCG and starting at 7:20 or something like that. It's bloody hard to get to AFL. Nice twilight Saturday afternoon time slot is perfect, Paul. Last one of these topics tonight on the fixturing subject, Paul, is bye rounds. Now, we've got a bye early in the season. We do have we're playing the
opening round
season against Brisbane. I think we've got Freo maybe the week after that.
We do, yep.
And then is it a bye or is it St Kilda first? I can't remember. Anyway, first 4 weeks.
St Kilda.
There you go. So we've got a bye, and then I think everyone else has kind of a bit of bye in the middle of the year as well. And then we've still got this pre-finals bye situation as well. So talk to me through your thoughts on the bye rounds. I've got some pretty strong opinions on it, but I'll let you hold the floor.
I mean, as Cats fans, we've maybe built up a little bit of hesitancy and concern around bye rounds because we've never necessarily shot the lights out in the subsequent week. Like the mid-season bye, I can tolerate. That's fine. Staggering it out over what's it been, at 4 weeks in some cases, I think that's ridiculous. As someone who likes to engage in some of these meta games, whether it's footy tipping or specifically, I guess for this case, the super coaches of the world, that's really frustrating across those weeks. And I know the AFL doesn't need to pander to that, but it is something that feeds off their game. And when that crowd's frustrated, there are ripples, maybe small, but there are ripples from that. And it is a difficult game to play when, these few teams are missing this week and then these few teams are missing that week. And it's a pain in the ass. But if we just focus on the game itself and even check the Geelong history with a bye round aside, it just holds momentum. It's especially the pre-finals bye, I think it really stifles the momentum of the game. And I know that, in recent years, they've used that week as an opportunity to, launch the AFLW season. I think it's lip service that they're giving to the women's comp in that case. I think the women's comp deserves more than what they're just doing there to kind of almost set it as an opening act of sorts. I think that's kind of, they're not treating them quite right in that regard. There's better ways to use that week if you are committed to the bye week, and you've spoken about these in past summer series, with Brownlows and other sort of things. The Legends game, there's a whole bunch of different things you could do in that particular week. But I'm not crazy about it anyway. And we've seen, especially in the case of the pre-finals bye, the way it, I guess as a spectacle, it's been maybe good for the AFL because you've seen these teams that have maybe scraped in to the bottom half of the 8, get that week off, and then it's kind of been a bit of an equalisation measure going into the finals, and it's given them a chance against some of these top teams over the course of the few weeks. Obviously, we've seen what Brisbane went on to do as a bottom half of the 8 team in the end. The Dogs have done it in the past. We've seen some success stories from this model, which was never the case, but it does bring about a disadvantage to those teams who earned the right to the week off if they win. We paid that price. We won early and then played a game in a month. I don't think it's okay.
My opinion on it is I'm kind of with you. I don't mind the mid-season bye. I don't like the fact that it's spread out over 4 weeks. I would much prefer to have every team have a bye at the same time. And maybe yes, it's lip service, but if you're gonna do lip service, well, give the launch round to the AFLW in that period of time. I would probably time it that's the start of the season, and maybe the grand final for the AFLW is I know it's kind of this weekend. What are we now? We're well past the AFL grand final. But I'd much prefer to see that if there is a pre-finals bye or a bye pre-grand final, which is probably I'll come to in a sec. I'd probably rather see the grand final that week as well. So it's got there's an absence of footy on TV. Everyone, you, me, others, we need our footy in our life. That's that. We'll watch AFLW anyway, but yeah, that's a good opportunity.
For others, yeah.
Maybe they haven't seen it before or haven't given it the time of day. It's an opportunity to have a look at it. I don't like the pre-finals bye. I don't like it at all. I think we're giving way too much respect to teams 5, 6, 7, and 8 that are just rubbish. They're just also rans. They're not going to contend.
Well, we've seen more of them pop up, though. That's the thing.
One bob's up every now and then, whoop-de-doo. I would much prefer to see the 2 best teams take a full list, if possible, into the grand final day. And if you're going to have a finals bye, do it before the grand final. I take your point, Paul. It does kill momentum a little bit, but you're already killing it anyway. I'm ready to go.
Like I'd rather it all gone.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably, If you ask me today, get rid of it completely. You've already had your 2 buys. Hit the ground running. There's no break between round 23, 24, or whatever it is, and then we hit the ground running in the finals, and off we go. But I guess if we're going to keep it, I would love to see the spotlight on the AFLW and just trying to sort of align it so that it's got the spotlight at opening round for that comp, but also the grand final. And then there's not that spread of games over 4 weeks for buys. Sorry, spread of buys over 4 weeks. Absolutely hate it, mate. Absolutely hate it.
No, I'm with you,
mate. That's our first topic of the summer series done. We'll be back this time next week, probably wearing similar clothing, but because I like my black t-shirts. I've heard you like your.
Don't mind a bit of green.
Bit of navy green. Yeah, we're not wearing
navy green.
Is it navy? I don't know. It's just green.
It's just a pretty simple green.
Mine's noir black. I don't know, midnight black. Anyway, that's us, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Go Cats. Take care.
Yep.
They play with pride from dusk to morn with a loyal crowd. We jump and cheer, funky tunes echo, let's make it clear.